Okay, let's talk some Sixers Celtics game three, some Nuggets Suns game three as well. I didn't get to Warriors Lakers game two, but the rest of the way, I should be reacting to all those games. But the Draymond guarding Anthony Davis definitely an interesting thing. Okay, let's talk about James Harden. So he has the game one where he's going at the Celtics drop defense, making a whole bunch of pull-up jumpers or making step backs over Horford or little fadeaways in the paint over just all the Celtics guards. It felt like Jalen took on the assignment in game two, and what was striking about that one was just how Jalen was picking him up from like the second he had the opportunity, like off of makes or whatever. It's just immediately, where is Harden? Let me just get him and just try to slow him down before he can even cross half court, And then from there, it's screen navigation and chasing him from behind, whatever it will be, right? And some of that definitely carried over into this one. I mean, the one I remember the most is when PJ Tucker set a screen for Harden and Horford was on Tucker, so Horford is going to be in a drop. Although even then he wasn't like immediately in a drop. It was more so, I'm going to meet you there and then back up a little bit type of drop. And then Jalen is just chasing him like crazy from behind and manages to block his shot from behind, and they're going the other way, right? Now there were plays where Rob had one where he helped weak side off of McDaniels and then blocks Harden kind of from out of nowhere. Derek White held up really well on a drive on one of them early that Harden thought he got a foul call on. But man, as the game went on, it did seem like Harden was just a little psyched out, where he was a little indecisive on things, where another one where the Celtics were playing drop on a screen, and I think it was Jalen chasing him from behind, and like there might have been an opportunity for a layup, and he kind of just didn't take it. I mean, he had 14 shots up by the end of the game, and even so, there were a number of plays where it seemed like he was in his own head a little bit. And some of that might have been due to the, at times, aggressive help from the Celtics. We will get to how they guarded Embiid and stuff in a second here, but one of Harden's turnovers, I've got it here, there was a transition opportunity. Derek White picks him up around half court, and then you've got DeAnthony Melton as well as PJ Tucker standing pretty much way too close to each other because they try to go to the same corner, which allowed Tatum and Marcus Smart to just load up inside the paint, and that kind of freaked Harden out. He throws a bad pass turnover. We can try to imagine certain adjustments between, like, maybe you run, like, empty corner actions with Harden and Embiid as opposed to stuff up top, and we'll get to the Embiid stuff in a second here. You can run handoff action from the corner or whatever, throw something different at him, but some of it honestly just has to be, like, we can't have you be indecisive in the middle of the floor, man. Now, in terms of Joel, the Celtics, they did a lot. I mean, it started the game with Horford on him, and at times it was Marcus Smart, at times it was Grant Williams. Jaylen Brown had some possessions on him, and between that, sometimes it was a hard double. Sometimes it was, a single coverage. Sometimes it was, we're going to like kind of reach in a little bit, but then we're going to go back to our guy. Other times it was, we're going to bring two, but it's once you kind of like put the ball on the floor for a little bit first. And within all this, Joel still did his thing, but I think it made the rest of the Sixers uncomfortable enough. Like one possession I remember where it's like Tatum coming over to double Embiid with Grant Williams, and then it's a swing to DeAnthony Melton. Melton's attacking off the catch, and then Tatum helps from that to then contest Melton at the rim, and they get a miss out of him. One thing I noticed is that whenever there was a smaller guy on Embiid, well, two things. One, it usually meant that Horford was on PJ Tucker to allow him to be more of a help guy. The second thing is, so they did run the Harden Embiid screen action at like Grant Williams guarding Embiid, and one time it was a drop, which then led to Harden getting a pull-up three, and that is perhaps something you could look to build on a little bit if you're Philly, where it's like, well, if we're going to have a smaller dude dropping on that sort of thing, we might be able to go at it some. But still, you're going to have most likely Jalen chasing from behind, and he has done a good job at that in the series for them. Maxey also missed some open threes. He also had one pull-up three I wasn't a huge fan of. He had a couple of misses versus the drop that he was making in a bunch of his attempts in game one. But there was also a play that kind of summed up Maxey's situation in the series to me, where he tried to take Tatum in a one-on-one, and Tatum just blocked him at the rim, and Maxey just kind of had no shot. And that's the thing with Maxey. I mean, we can appreciate his speed off the catch and his shooting and his pull-up stuff and all that, and he could definitely go off in any game in the series like he did in game one. But man, there are situations where he just has such a size disadvantage against the Celtics. So it can be tough for him at times. To think about this from the other side. So the big question I had for Philly's defense going into the series was, what is the balance between Embiid being able to plant himself in front of the basket and then giving up threes to like Horford or just whatever, right? Well, Al made 5 threes in this game, but of those 5, I would say 2 of them were more so the Embiid playing off of him. One, Joel got a good closeout. The other one, McDaniels got a good closeout. So they weren't like disaster plays. The other 3 were more just like off of an offensive rebound or a crazy tip pass thing in transition, and like, oh, now it's in Al's hands. So for what that means. Now, as far as Philly's defense overall, I mean, you're definitely going to see some of the plays if you look back on this of like the perimeter defense breaking down, and then Embiid has to help, and then from there it's like, the swing Celtics 3-ball spacing offense, besides like Tatum and Jalen heroics in the second half, which I can get to. So like early on, right, there's an off-ball set where Tatum, he acts like he's going to screen for Marcus, and then he just cuts. He gets free from Tobias a little bit. Joel's got to help from the corner, and then it's a kick to Horford, swing to Derek White, that's a 3. Another where Marcus Smart screens for Jaylen Brown, he's on the roll, Joel's got to help, and then Tatum relocates to the corner for 3 with a really nice Horford off-ball screen. And to be fair, I'm not saying that any of this is Joel Embiid's fault. He's got to help because the perimeter defense breaks down in some way. Anyway, let's just appreciate Tatum and Jalen for 4 seconds. So there was a stretch in the second half where they were getting Embiid switched onto him. Tatum beat him once on just like a straight line drive. I think he had a floater over him. Jalen had that 3-point play where he goes baseline and gets the reverse layup on him, where I was just like, how the hell did Jalen not get blocked by Embiid there? But still, even in the fourth, what can happen with the Celtics offense sometimes is the pace slows down a little bit, and they just do a couple of boneheaded things, like when the Sixers trapped Tatum on a screen and he basically just threw it to Melton, or there was like an offensive foul by somebody on a fast break or whatever. But we had that Tatum turnaround mid-ranger. We also had that sidestep 3 over, I think it was Melton on the left wing, where, trust me, as the Celtics fan who has seen this team have weird fourth quarter offenses at times, I thought, oh no, it's happening again, but the tough shots went in enough. So anyway, possible takeaways for this one for Philly. I mean, you can try some different screen actions or whatever for Harden in different locations of the floor, but also at a certain point, like, dude's just got to be a little bit better. You can try to free him up from Jalen, maybe have other guys screen for him or whatever. The other thing is that Doc in this one, he played DeAnthony Melton 30 minutes, he played PJ Tucker 24. So that's interesting. If we can get to the Suns and the Nuggets now, just completely obscene, unreal, unbelievable, whatever other word I can describe shot making from especially Devin Booker, but KD as well. I mean, with KD it was a few more free throws, but with Booker, man, whether it was Bruce Brown or KCP or Jamal Murray or Christian Brown, just didn't really matter. I mean, this is one of those performances where you can just watch it and be like, yeah, there's no real use to try to break it down further. I mean, the one thing I will say is, like, I still believe that when KD and Booker are one pass away from each other, it does make it pretty tough to bring 2 on either one of them. It also feels like Booker especially is getting more comfortable with knowing that skip pass is going to be there when 2 guys come at him. And so you saw that on that TJ Warren 3 when the Suns were able to get at least a little bit of something outside of KD and Booker in this one. I think it was a similar one on the one after where TJ Warren then attacked off the catch from the same corner and then got a floater off. I guess they weren't technically skip passes, but, dudes open in the corner, basically. Another thing in the first half I noticed, I don't know if they did it as much in the second, but in the first half it seemed like KD and Book were rejecting screens a lot of the time, which is when you dribble away from the screen. And I think that's an interesting way of going at the Jokic high on screens action, because, well, typically Jokic is expecting you to go around the screen. That's where he's looking to meet you at the level, and so if he's not back there, okay. Now, there's still going to be somebody helping out, whether it's MPJ or whatever, but that's an interesting thing. Another thing was it felt like the Suns had an emphasis on attacking early, even off of makes sometimes, where I think KD especially was able to get some more of his trips to the line. The one that sticks out to me the most is right off of a Denver make where he's just going at Aaron Gordon immediately and draws something for a 3-point play. So yeah, the Phoenix, they got through this one. I'm sure they would love if, I don't know, off of the bring 2 to the ball actions for the Nuggets defensively, they could get 4 threes out of Terrence Ross in the next game, or hell, I think Jokic was dropping on Cameron Payne screens, which that makes sense. I mean, you're not going to bring 2 on Cameron Payne when you're already bringing 2 on KD and Book. So, like, I mean, we'll see if CP is back for the next game and all that, but, like, there might be room for some Cameron Payne pull-up jumpers in here. Like, anything to just make it a little easier on these 2 dudes. Besides the obvious of DeAndre Ayton and his aggressiveness and how much they're looking for him on rolls and all that stuff. Also, I mentioned Terrence Ross. There was a random play in the first half that I thought was kind of cool where when the Nuggets brought 2 on the ball, that also means that somebody's going to help from the corner, right? And then it was Bruce Brown, and so Terrence Ross relocated from the corner to the wing as Bruce Brown was the help dude, and that led to him getting an open 3, and I was like, okay, that could be something you build on a little more. As for the other side of it, so look, I think Denver's offense doesn't have a whole lot to be panicked about after this game, but I will say, I do feel like, Jock Landale had some interesting possessions in the fourth quarter, where, like, one where he holds up really well containing Jamal Murray and drop, and then Landry Shamet would get there for the contest, or one where he's unable to beat Landale on a drive, and then Landale goes out there to the three-point line and gets at least a decent enough step-back three contest to where he misses. So yeah, Phoenix did their job, and I'm feeling okay with the Celtics right now.